Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you're with Simon today. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the solar eclipse in Gemini. And this is for the 10th and 11th of June 2021. So first things first, before we do anything, this video is part of a playlist that we have put together that covers the entirety of this solar eclipse and lunar eclipse portal, including the Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, and Mercury retrograde. And you'll see all of those videos in that playlist. Down below in the comments section is a link to go check that out, okay? So that's something that will give you an entire bird's eye view of what is actually taking place for us. Now, the thread that we've been talking about throughout this whole entire series has to do with the radicalization of these ideas that we have about ourselves and about life, and to change the way that we think and see and interact with not only our interpersonal perception of ourselves, but the way that we actually see the way that the world is, right? And that constant interface between the projected idea versus who you really are. And so with this solar eclipse, what I see mainly is the potential to unlock the things that are stopping us from really truly understanding the value of not only our actual selves, but also what holds us back from living our personal myth, you know? And so what I want to really kind of drive home for us today here is the idea of asking better questions around the problems that we have in our lives, right? How do we look at the scenarios and the situations that we've got in our lives and say, can I come to a solution through investigating and being curious and, you know, giving time and attention to solving the thing that I feel is causing me pain, right? So when I talk about causing me pain or causing me suffering, I'm talking about something in your life that you feel you want progress on, that you want to make sense of. And sometimes we can be so overwhelmed by the scenario because we maybe don't have the tools available for us to be able to interact with it, or we don't have the understanding or the information available, and we feel stuck. And that stuckness eventually after a period of time just kind of translates to, I have to give up because I can't move on from this. But this energy here, you know, Gemini is all about being able to ask the questions that allows us deeper clarity. So let's say there's if you label one thing in your life right now that you feel you want to make some progress on, give yourself 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day to sit and contemplate what could you do, what could you gather, what questions could you ask that helps you make more sense of it, and allow that state of mind of curiosity to lead, and to not try and figure it out in the sense of I must have the answer, but to actually let that curiosity lead you to the potential of solving the problem, and let life kind of collaborate with you. Now that last piece can be sometimes a little bit impractical to many people, but I would also argue that have you tried it? You know? So this energy here speaks a lot to the opening up of something. And Gemini's the instinct of curiosity, the instinct to relate, the instinct to investigate, to make sense of something. One of the downsides to this energy is just the scatteredness, right? I'm just focusing on everything as opposed to becoming very specific on something. So there's an invitation here with this energy to ask yourself the question, what is it that really attracts my attention? And then how can I clear space around me and focus on that one thing? And by focusing on that one thing, then ask the deeper questions around that. So let my curiosity lead me to unfold something that really is exciting me, as opposed to just being all over the place with all of them and things, and then not actually having any clarity on anything because we're distracted. So that's my invitation for you guys today. I'm going to jump into the chart right now and share with you some of my ideas around it. And I really hope that you get a lot of value out of this video. Okay, so let's have a look at the solar eclipse that's taking place for us on the 10th of June, 2021. Now, if we look over here, right, we've got North Node, Sun, Moon, and Mercury conjunction. And my first thoughts when I look at this phasal relationship between these planets, of course, has a lot to do with the Mercury. So there's a very strong emphasis on the Mercury function, the illumination of deep insights. There is information during the lunar eclipse that's now becoming more available to us. And the energy is revealing to us something that over the next 6 months will become a big part of your worldview. And it will also deeply impact the way that your brain and the way that you structure your language and the way that you also see things, right? And this is all Gemini related experiences. So the possibility, the potential that this solar eclipse speaks to us is about bringing new information to light. And this new information deeply supports, if you look over here between Saturn that's retrograde there and the trines. So if we clear this up and we just look at the Saturn retrograde there, right? And if we look here on this bar, there's the trine between Mercury, the Sun, and the Moon. You know, those trines that are being held with Saturn speak to the synthesis and the harmony that occurs with the solar eclipse. And that has a lot to do, again, with the way that we define our time, the way that we value our time, the way that we value and define the ideas that we have about life. And it also, again, speaks to the restructuring of our perceptions. So the restructuring part is the Saturn, like I talked about before. And then the Gemini feature is the way in which we language our life. So are you somebody that has this Jupiter retrograde theme? Are you somebody that when you look at an experience, you innately go to the negative? Because that negative way of framing that experience leads you to feeling sort of caged in by the experience, or, you know, limited in seeing what's really there. And sometimes we are in that state. Sometimes we have had a lot of experiences take place for us, and we can feel that loss of hope. It's not something that is a bad thing, but at some point, it's really, really good to begin to see the adaptation, to see the changes, to see the potential, and to begin growing from that experience, right? In any way whatsoever. And so this solar eclipse energy holds the potential for bringing new insights, new life force to the situation, to see things from a different point of view, and to allow yourself to be open to new possibility. Gemini is all about our capacity to look beyond what we know and feel comfortable with. And we do that by questions. So one of the things that this energy can deeply help us get clarity on is asking better questions about the problems we have in our lives, right? This is something that I don't know if I highly encourage you to go check out Seth Godin. And, you know, his entire myth and message has a lot to do with breaking out of brainwashed states of thinking, in which the agenda of the thinking is deeply influenced by people are not interested in your personal perception of the world. It's interested in their ideas. And so we become aligned with those ideas, as opposed to developing deep critical thinking that awakens something within ourselves, but also allows ourselves to think outside of another person's ideas and perceptions about the world. And this is this potential here that happens with this solar eclipse in Gemini, is to question, what ideas do you have about your life that are not of your own? You know, that's the first one. And then the second one is to ask better questions. To solve problems is asking better questions. And it requires us to really look at the challenges we may face in our internal lives, and, like, through asking better questions, be able to get deeper insight around the problem that we are faced with at this point in our lives. And out of that comes innovation. So there's two states here. Collectively, in the collective unconscious that is permeating in the world right now, this solar eclipse can reflect itself as information coming to the world, coming to the surface that we have not previously had available to us. So we become illuminated beyond what we've always been told and perceived and seen, right? The square to Neptune. Okay. So that's something that I feel is deeply held within the potential of the solar eclipse. And of course, this will be happening all the way until the end of the year. But I'm interested in, how does this astrology translate into empowering you, right? Empowering our lives. How do we use the potential and tap into it to awaken deeper states of self-understanding and self-realization? So one of the things that I encourage us all to do is to take a moment out of your day, right? Or a day, maybe just like an hour, or maybe less, depends on how much you have available to you, and begin to kind of write a story. Now, if some of you may be not comfortable with writing, that's okay. You can use an audio in your phone, and start at a point either as an autobiography, or start at a point in terms of a story that you can express that has a synthesis with your life. In other words, go back and look at your personal myth. Look at the story that you have. And maybe this can be a little bit confrontational for those that have got a lot of trauma related to the parents and the upbringing. But it's always really profound to begin to look at and connect the dots, Gemini, to the story that we have about our lives, and begin to look at the ideas and beliefs that have formed around the experiences that we've had. So for those of you that really find this idea interesting, what I encourage you to do is literally sort of reflect back on the events and write the story, right, as it shows up for you. Let your unconscious kind of let it come out, and observe what shows up for yourself as one. If that's a bit too intense in terms of making it personal, you can always separate it from you as the person that's the narrative, and write a story in a third person way. And the reason why I'm talking about writing here and expressing here has a lot to do with the Gemini function, right? And as it trines Saturn, it speaks about how we've defined our lives, what has shaped us. And it's in here that we begin to really get the story of what we are seeking. See, Gemini has to do with the part of us that is seeking the absence of the other, right? So that's why you have the twins. So we're looking for something, and we're always in a constant state of wondering. So when we've got lots of Gemini, what are we looking for? And sometimes we can actually get a tremendous amount of understanding about what we're looking for by deep diving into the experience of writing our myth. And we start to see what comes up to the surface. So that's something that I encourage you to do as a proactive way of using this astrology at this point in time, and see what erupts, right? And use it as an opportunity to reflect on, again, looking at the deep unconscious beliefs that you may hold, how your life has been structured by values and beliefs that don't belong to you, but you've adapted or taken on board as a way of survival, but no longer is relevant for you anymore. Okay. So just to kind of look a little bit more at the astrology again, in the sense of just the transits that are taking place. Chiron at the moment with the solar eclipse is squaring Venus in Cancer, Chiron in Aries. And whenever you see these signs in aspect, Aries and Cancer, you're always looking at the natural relationship between separating from what is comfortable. And you'll hear me talk about in my Jupiter video, the Jupiter retrograde video, talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone or leaving your homeostasis state. What you've always felt is comfortable doesn't like grow you. You're not challenged by your own limitations. So you don't know them. And so we become passive, and we start to let our biology become the autopilot for our experience of life, as opposed to being innovative and stepping out of that role and leading your own charge, right? Saturn in Aquarius. Who is your authority? You see it in the collective, because what we do is we transfer our unactualized sense of authority into an energy vortex that represents that. So the governments are doing this at this point in time, Saturn. So what we can do is we can transfer our unactualized sense of authority into the rebellion against the authority. Okay, cool, fantastic. But how has that changed your moment to moment reality? How has that stepped you out of your own comfort zone to provide something of value towards people's lives and to your own, that uses that scenario of governmental oppression or whatever of the sort as a catalyst for your own growth? That's what this Chiron Venus square looks like, in the sense of, are you daring enough to challenge your own security and to jump out of your comfort zone and to lead beyond the borders of your own self-understanding? Self-understanding, Aries, leading edge of your change. What are your instincts actually pulling you towards? And the square between Cancer and Aries is that separating from the womb. Okay. So dissolving the barriers of understanding and leading with something innovative and challenging yourself, challenging your ideas, and bringing yourself into a deeper state of self-actualization and creation. Okay. Awesome, everybody. Well, as always, I really hope that you got value from what I was talking about, and it gave you something to think about, and to lead with the potential to walk away from this video with something that you could use to improve the state of how you feel that your life is going at this point in time. Cool. So as always, I'm always encouraging you to write in the comments something that you found valuable, something that I touched upon that really brought resonance to you. And as always, love to just read the comments. So if there is something valuable or a takeaway or something that you consider to be important that maybe to another person, when they read that, can actually go, wow, that was actually cool, I can relate, then please follow that instinct and write in the comments as always, okay? All right, everybody, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in another video. Take care. The things are changing for us at a rapid rate, and there's an opportunity for us to be able to transform our lives and to actually innovate the very nature of what it means to be human, what it means to live in an authentic way, what it means to experience yourself in your highest and deepest truth. Which is why I want to invite you onto a call where we get to sit down and see if there's an opportunity for us to support you in that process. Now, for far too long, we've been living under the ideas of what society defines as our deepest purpose, our highest potential. We've been influenced by the narrative that our parents wanted us to be. And there are many of us that are standing on the leading edge right now saying, that is no longer the narrative I want to live. So if you feel that this is a state that you're in, that you're ready to commit to your own transformation and you want to lead in an innovative way in this new world, then I encourage you to click on the link beneath this video and book a free call with us. And you'll be asked to fill out a few questions so that we get a better understanding of where you're at. And on the day of the call, me or one of the people from my team will have a conversation with you, and we'll see if there's an opportunity for us to support you in that process.